finally the bear case in my mind that made sense, that no one, this is the case that the bears did not make clearly, that now I can steel man in retrospect. You really want to you want to assign a PE to a company that is really, really safe. And they kept saying, 30 PE is too high, 40 PE is too high, 50 PE is too high, 100 PE is too high. And we're like, yeah, but look at the growth, look at the growth, look at the growth. Well, there is probably going to be, in the cycle of markets, there's going to be a market that comes around when, just because today we're comfortable with 100 PEs does not mean a year from now, anyone is going to be comfortable with 100 PE. It might be 25, it might be 15, it might be 10, it might be 5. And so if you're making your purchase decisions based on, I can buy at 50, 75, 100 PE, and I can expect to make profit in the near term, you are leaving yourself very susceptible to that PE compression loss. And that's what we've seen. Whereas if you're much more disciplined in your value approach in the companies that you're willing to even consider, then you hedge that downside a lot. Now, like we've talked about, the long-term future of Tesla is great, and no one executes like Elon executes. The product roadmap is still the most exciting product roadmap in tech business, period. And so
easily,
if you feel like, oh man, I made the mistake, I overpaid for Tesla. As long as you can sit on your butt and not sell it for the next 5 years, in hindsight, it will be a minor mistake that you're like, I probably should have been a little bit more disciplined in my cash deployment strategy, but overall, it still worked out great. And so try not to beat yourself up. I know that a lot of people are in a margin situation where they're getting margin called. I'm actually in that camp a little bit. I have a small position where I was adding what I thought was a very conservative amount of margin, only 10 or 20%, but it's come down so much since I was buying I think my cost basis on that small position is somewhere in the maybe 240, 260 range. Because I started up just under 300 and then I was buying on the way down. And so I'm right on the line right now. In fact, there's a very real possibility that they're selling a couple of my shares right now, depending on what the price is today. But that's okay. Like, it's a very small position, and it's not that was play money. And so I don't have to worry about that. And like I said, it'll only be a couple shares that end up needing to be liquidated to stay in compliance. So as long as we don't keep going too much further. And I can probably put in a little bit of cash and float that. But overall, my retirement holdings, no margin, no leverage ever. And I can just weather these 70% drawdowns like with Elon. And so I think this is a time just to be reminded of why the conservative people who were warning against margin, who were warning against trying to YOLO options, this is why they were right. So it's a great learning opportunity and experience in the markets.
Yeah, I think for me too, if you look at the bear argument, like, nothing has really changed. Twitter, yes, there's some small things that make a difference, but like, is Tesla delivering less cars? Are they making less cars? Are Berlin and Texas ramping? Of course they are. There are still positives there, and even though right now it may look like it's not working out currently, and the Bears are celebrating, like, I think it's just a matter of time before we get the turnaround.
What I was going to say is, I think it's just purely psychological in this respect. Is people feel trapped because they lose control, because they don't have an ability to opt out. I'm long. So I bought this morning, and I was thinking about buying while we're on stream. I'm going to buy Hans's shares if we're sitting here.
It was you.
Yeah, but I'm not selling. So I'm looking, literally, my time frame is, I'm looking at 2033. That's my time frame. But I don't like the fact that I'm so underwater that I can't sell the shares if like some emergency came up or something like that. And losing that control makes most people really uncomfortable and really unhappy. And that's just strictly a human emotion. So I think notwithstanding whatever the fundamentals are, and that long term it's great. In the short term, we all feel like we're kind of stuck, and that's not fun.
Yeah. Go ahead, Noah.
No, yeah, I for the first time looked at my portfolio this morning and saw a negative net worth, or negative total investment. Right, so I was usually positive in my investments, and now I'm negative, and I feel like we're developing callus on our hands. You know, like it's just part of the investing journey and part of the thing. Like you can't have the good times without the bad, for sure.
For me, it's also like I had a friend who's a ex-fund manager, and so he has some detailed financial models and stuff like that. And he told me back in like April or May or something like that, March, something like that, even before the COVID shutdown and other stuff like that, he said that the macro thing was flashing this monster sell signal. So he had the information saying that this whole macro environment thing was going to go to total crap, right? So he told me to sell that. Well, at, $1,000, $900 before we did a split. And yeah, it can go down. I can see that. Yeah, it can go down. But I was thinking, like 700, and then things would recover. So I could sell, but then I'd have the tax hit. So I thought, okay, I just avoid it. So now we're down to the equivalent of like, sub 500, $400. And so I could have sold and, recovered. Like Hans was saying, I had an opportunity there, but it was kind of like, it was how, the depth of it. And also the fact that we did the double thing where like we got back, did 600, got back up to 900. And then just over the last 45 days, just utterly crushed back down again, right? So the second leg down was the really hurtful one. Because if we get 700 back 900, I'm still feeling, I didn't get a tax benefit because I didn't know how to play that. Who thought it would be like this much stuff going on? But now we're down again. So then that goes to that I think some relief happens January 2nd and January 21st when we get the fourth quarter. I'm expecting that to be good, not great. But Q1, then that's the first 3 months where they'll reveal what does the Inflation Reduction Act really do to Tesla's profitability. And I think that's somewhat underestimated by most of the analysts, and they're factoring in, they forget about it. Not just the direct battery payments, but the fact that you're getting 13% discount in every car, that Model 3, Model Y, and you're getting a 20% or more discount, I think, on the mega packs, which can have a delayed reaction because they pre-sold them all. But then also the Lathrop ramp, we went from 1 to 2 gigawatt hours. We'll see what happens there in Q4. If it went to 4 and then 4 gigawatt hours of energy and then 6 gigawatt hours of energy, we could hit that tipping point where we're just like the ramp of Austin, Berlin goes from we're making money, but it's not offsetting the capex and whatever other things OpEx things that we're doing on the factory. The Lathrop factory, same deal. We're only at 1 gigawatt hour of that production maybe, and then 1 gigawatt hour of power walls from Nevada. So then if that can go up to 10 gigawatt hours because you have 40 gigawatt, and they could be lowballing the 40 gigawatt hour capacity of Lathrop, right? That gets to the 20% margin thing. And if you have another 20% from the Inflation Reduction Act, that thing could have 40%, 50%. And so that is a potential thing that can play out over 2023. The other thing would be the FSD, if they finally get it off beta, not just the fully recognize the revenue. So if you pay me $15,000, I recognize $15,000 instead of saying $500, and that playing out through each quarter. But also the fact that at some point they get confident enough to say, have that free month. All you 1.5 million people who bought it before, here, have a free month, try it out. It's really, really good. It's comfortable, blah, 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 right? So when does that happen? I think sometime in 2023, hopefully in the first half, maybe in the first quarter. And then I'm now thinking first half. I think that there's some delays in getting that up to speed. The other thing is that once they have the data that says this thing is much, much safer, or at least as safe as the average human driver. They can do the insurance FSD bundle. You are a crappy driver. You pay high insurance. Here, you pay $400 per month on insurance. Have the $200 FSD. You must have it turned on all the time. We can see you have it turned on all the time. Now, your combined thing is still the same, and you have FSD, or you have insurance plus FSD, where the FSD only costs you $100. And back when FSD was at the $100 equivalent, or $6,000 or whatever, the take rates on that were as high as 40%, right? So we have some historical evidence of when the price is lower, that it is at that higher take rate. But if you combine insurance with it to get the net effect of lower price, right, then you do it. And the better it gets, they can offer more and more people the insurance FSD bundle. It makes more sense for them, and makes more sense for people. So there'll be a financial thing where we go up to really high take rates, which is this bridge between us and robotaxi, right? So that is, farther you have the models where we have really high take rates in FSD. This is the mechanism. Two mechanisms of free trials, try it, and then two, bundle it with insurance. And then you get to high take rates, which we all know is insane profit.
That's right.
And the other thing about the FSD thing, subscription, is if they do the subscription thing, it's less impact. But then it's that sweet cloud computing revenue, the subscription revenue, right? Where the analysts can model it out and say, okay, you made $1 billion in subscription revenue, but it's going to keep coming, right? So they love that, and they can model that out. The Gary Blass can say, oh yeah, now the numbers look great, right? So energy becoming real, and then this FSD, how they can make that good. And the Inflation Reduction Act, when they can fully capture those things, because they're going to transition to the point where, one, they raise prices in a year or 2 years out, on all the other products, the energy products. They get to scale on the batteries. And then they also may transition to the point where they have to become their own energy company, where they can sell to themselves. They still sell to the other guys, to the PG&E and everyone else, but then they also do their own, like sticking mega packs everywhere, which I have a longer story about that.